Yeah, it's a really important weekend for us, and on my side, I really like to be there. The atmosphere is so cool here, and I really like the track also.
For this season in Most, it's a new surface and new curbs, and the circuit is a little bit faster than years before. And I spectated we make the records laps time for time practice maybe tomorrow.
This weekend here in Most is gonna be for sure the most difficult, because this is the circuit where everybody else is testing, so it's kind of a home circuit for everybody. So, we try to put everything together for the second half of the season so that we can do all of these 4 race weekends without any problems.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning indeed. Welcome to Autodrome Most and welcome to the 2022 Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. My name is Chaz Draycott and I am so happy to be back commentating on this championship once again. It feels like absolutely forever since the last race meeting held at the Nürburgring as part of the International ADAC Truck Grand Prix. It's been 48 days, over 1,100 hours since the last race finished. And I tell you what, it feels like even longer than that. We hope you've had a wonderful summer break. We hope you've had a fantastic time, whatever you may have been doing, wherever you may have been in the world. And we welcome you to one of the most exciting circuits on our calendar. Autodrome Most in the Czech Republic, or Czechia, as it's known, is an absolute treat. There's so many fantastic series that visit this incredible circuit. But if I'm honest with you, the trucks are probably one of the least likely to visit here. It's a very narrow, very twisty, one-line racing circuit, and I love watching these machines around here. I really hope to visit the circuit one day, especially with this championship. We have 21 corners here, and it is going to be a monstrous, monstrous challenge. So many chicanes, hairpins, and even S-sections as well, S-bends as we call them, that go one way, then the other at such high speed. We saw very dramatic moments last season as well, with having so much rain at one end of the circuit, but no rain at the other. One of the important things to note is that the circuit at the start of 2022 was completely resurfaced. There's new curbs here as well. You can see our penalty markers trackside as well there, the white marker and then the black marker after it as well. So the drivers are expecting faster lap times. You'll have heard it from Adam Lachko as well in the opening sequence there, that they're expecting to beat the lap records from years previous. The lap record itself for truck racing, anyway, was set in a Freightliner as well, which is what Adam Lachko and Teo Calvé drive. They set that back in 2009. It was David Vysecki that set that time, a 201.340. And the closest that anybody's got is actually Norbert Kiss. He did a 201.865 in free practice 2 yesterday. Amazingly, it was Norbert Kiss from Teo Calvé and Adam Lachko, so 2 Freightliners in the top 3. They do consider this to be a home race for the Freightliner Bagheera ZM Racing team anyway. Coming into this race meeting, it's Norbert Kiss that still leads the championship. He's got a very healthy margin over Jochen Hahn, who moved up to second in the championship at the Nürburgring with a race win there and plenty of podiums to go with it. Sascha Lenz, third in the championship as well. The 3 of them all have 10 podium appearances each this season. It just so happens that 9 of those for Norbert Kiss are race wins. He has 7 pole positions to Jochen Hahn's 1, which he inherited, of course, from Norbert being pulled in for the black smoke infringement. Now, the next driver down on the list that has more podiums than anybody else this season is Antonio Albacete. He has 5, so he has half of the top 3 machines. Now, there is an important truck on our screens right now, the number 66 Lion Truck Racing machine. It's being driven this weekend by Jonathan Andre after we tragically lost Anthony Janiec not too long ago. It seems like only yesterday that the news came through. He suffered a cardiac arrest at the age of 37, and the paddock has been shaken by it massively. It's been horrendous news, and of course, our thoughts go out to his friends, family, and the team as well. But as a sort of tribute to him, the teams are still running the truck, and Jonathan Andre will be driving it for the rest of the season, and it's wonderful to still see the machine out there on track in its beautiful bright yellow colour scheme. It is hard to miss. So the trucks make their way out onto the circuit. And I'm sorry, everybody, I'm just having a technical difficulty here. If you just bear with me 1 second. I'm so sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I will have to explain that one a little bit further down the line. That's going to take some explaining that. Anyway, machines are out on the circuit, and it's fantastic to see them back here at Most. You can see them winding this way and that way. The circuit is so flowing and so beautiful to watch, and the drivers really enjoy it too. It's quite the challenge because it doesn't look like it that much from here, but there is quite the undulation around this circuit, quite the climbs and drops as you make your way round. It's contusions, as we say. There is Antonio Albertetti for T-Sport Bernau. Part of a two-truck team, of course, this season. There is a teams championship going on. Antonio is teamed up with Norbert Kiss to form Revesh and T-Sport. They won the championship together last year as Team Titan. They're on 322 points at the moment over De Bullen von Iveco, which is Jochen Hahn and Steffi Halm. 264 points between them, ahead of Sasha Lenz and Shane Brereton on Lowen Power. So, around the final corner and across the line goes Jochen Hahn in the number 4 Iveco, flying across the line, down the hill. You can see just how the circuit does swoop downhill like that, and then back up again as they go towards the very tight first chicane around the lap here. We've had some fantastic shots of the trucks racing through here. Look at the way they accelerate on the exit as well. Power down, absolutely flying out of there, putting all of that massive torque figure down into the ground. These trucks have over 5,000 Newton meters of torque going through those rear axles and those poor rear wheels that get worked very hard indeed. Jochen Hahn now just coming through what is turns 5, 6 and 7. This is 8 and 9 and then 10. This is the hairpin at the bottom of the circuit where we saw so much rain last year. Last year's pole position times, by the way, not completely indicative of the pace difference for this year. There was a lot of rain in the first qualifying session, which meant that pole was a 209.6 by Norbert Kiss. But Jochen Hahn went and did a 201.9 in the second Super Pole session of the weekend on the Sunday. Jochen flying now under the humongous bridge that they have here. It looks absolutely stunning. Makes his way through the long sweeping left at turn 16. And he's got another right kink at 17. Look at the way the weight transfers on this machine, flicking one way, then the other. He's going to be the first man to set a representative lap time. Norbert Kiss seemingly... Oh, now that is Andre Kurzim at the side of the road. Now that is going to shake things up a little bit, to say the least. Andre has had some sort of issue. I'm not quite sure where on the circuit he is at the moment. I'll check the sectors. He's in Sector 2. He's completed Sector 1, but pulled over partway around the lap. And it seems like a number of the drivers are now backing out. I can't see if we've got... yes, we do have a red flag. I was going to say, I imagine they would bring it to a halt. And unfortunately, whatever problem Andreas had has curtailed his session and everybody else's to go with it. Now they all will creep back around, and there's a number of them actually that were just completing their laps as well and that have gone past the pit lane entrance. So we freeze the clock, but these guys have got to do an entire extra lap just to get back round to the pits, and that'll be quite frustrating for them. But at the end of the day, it's not Andre's fault. It's not anybody's fault in particular. That's just racing sometimes. And that is how the cookie crumbles. So Jochen Hahn, who is currently second in the championship, a 6-time champion in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. He's a man on a mission to chase down Norbert Kiss and try and take the potential crown away from him. But like I said, the points difference is 48 points at the moment. You get 20 for winning the first race of the day, 10 for winning the second. So there's a lot to be gained as we head into the second half of the season. 8 race meetings this year, as we often have had in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship in the past few years. And speaking of the past few years, in 4 of the last 6 visits that we've had here, Most has actually hosted the closest race finishing margin of the year. So it certainly is a circuit that provides great racing and close racing in these machines. However, on the flip side, admittedly, while looking through the figures and the stats and so on, last year was actually the largest win margin in race 3 that we saw in 2021, and fittingly, it was 21 seconds as well, 21.907 for Norbert Kiss, taking the win in race 3. Now, the track, as I mentioned, has been resurfaced, so it's considered a lot smoother, maybe a little bit more grippy because it's newer tarmac for this year. Slightly less abrasive on the tyres as well, so the drivers may be able to push that little bit harder, get more grip in response, and not kill the tyres so quickly. And we're hoping for the driver's sake as well, it is even more enjoyable. Now, as a bit of a fun comparison, we all know that these racing trucks are very, very quick machines. But of course, due to their nature, they are a lot more cumbersome than your usual purpose-built race cars and other racing machines that you may see, whether it be a touring car, a GT car, a racing motorbike, or even a Formula 1 car. They are very different in terms of lap time, appearance, noise, everything. They are really unique, these racing trucks. I've fallen in love with them. We hope you have as well, with the live coverage that we've been bringing you over these past 2 seasons. But just to give a little example of how certain vehicles suit this circuit better, and a lot of circuits in many different ways, the actual outright lap record, to remind you, the lap record here in the trucks is a 201.340. The outright lap record was set by Josef Neuhauser in a Minardi M190 in the year 2000, so it's a 22-year-old record. He did a 1 minute 16.1 around here in a Minardi. And that was part of the Most Inter-Serie Challenge, which was basically just a championship of bring whatever you run. Or bring whatever you want and see what you can do. And we have Teo Calve down there in the pit lane for a quick chat while we've got the red flag going on.
Theo, a very disappointing qualifying for the moment because we have a red flag. Andre Kosim has a technical problem. Like yesterday in the free practice, there are some red flags. How disappointing is it?
Yeah, honestly, I don't really know why they put red flag because he was on safe place. But yeah, we have to wait. It's frustrating because we have new tires and we are using it for nothing. But everybody lost 1 lap, so it's the same for everybody. So let's see.
Yesterday, you showed a very strong time, the very strong lap. Do you think you can repeat it today?
Yeah, of course. We are on the quali now. I'm more than ready. and I hope it will be okay and we will be fast enough to be on top today.
Thank you. Good luck. Thank you.
Yeah, understandably frustrating that the drivers will have wasted a lap and affected the tyres, of course. The tyres don't go off massively quickly, but as you can imagine, in these racing machines, especially trucks that weigh as much as this, the tyres don't have the sort of life expectancy of other racing tyres on much smaller racing machines. And you can see we've got fantastic numbers out here this weekend. Big crowds at Autodrom Most. Fantastic scenery as well in the background there, as you see the wonderful hillsides towering over the background. Fans of all ages and generations out here to see these incredible machines. I know I say it a lot whenever we have these events, but if you haven't seen truck racing before in person and you wonder what it's like to witness it, honestly, do go and see it. I implore you. It is just mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. My first experience in person was with the British Truck Racing Championship just over a year ago. And then, of course, travelled out for the European Truck Racing Championship later in the year. And it is just amazing to see something so big move so quickly. And it's not even just the way that they sit at 100 miles an hour, as these things are often technically limited to, but it's the way they accelerate as well. They often say that these racing trucks, obviously 0 to 60 isn't the peak level of performance, but the actual machines themselves do 20 to 100 miles an hour in the same time as a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. And that really gives you an idea of just how quick they are. You can see marshals, they're brushing away debris, gravel, oil, some sort of fluid away from the circuit. Just to the left of our shot there, you can see a little streak that runs off to the side of the road. And I fear whatever may have brought Andrei Kurzim's truck to a halt has been spilled out onto the racetrack. So while it's been resurfaced at the start of the year, Andrei Kurzim's decided to lay down his own surface at this point. They're just hitching the truck up now to tow it away. That's another part of the logistical side of truck racing, is that while sometimes the racing machines can be bigger, obviously the recovery operation is bigger as well when something goes wrong or where one of them breaks down. Apologies for the little technical issue at the start there as the trucks went out onto the circuit. Maybe a bit too much disclosure, but I recently, as many people have done, returned from a holiday away and had no baggage at the airport when I got back. And just out of my window there, the bags have just actually turned up at my front door, which is an odd situation and a very unique one for a commentator to face, I must admit. Anyway, you can see there, very brightly displayed, we have a red flag. There is the gorgeous number 55 Bagheera ZM Racing Freightliner of Adam Lachko. Now look at that red stripe that they have on the nose down the front. They actually write which circuit they're at. They have the little flag of where the circuit is located and then the dates on which we are racing as well. It's a lovely little detail that Bagheera take with them to each and every race meeting. It's great to see it. And it's those little attentions to little bits of attention to detail that really show at the sort of pride amongst the paddock for the racing machines they have and how well presented they all are as well. You know, these trucks can withstand a lot. They have a lot of contact in this sport. They are very big and burly machines, but still, the presentation of them is just gorgeous. You know, all of the trucks up close, whenever you see them, they're constantly being cleaned and well looked after. They are so well presented. Over the course of a year, a lot of the time in motorsport, if you go and visit race after race, you'll see the cars getting more and more ragged and beaten up as the year goes on. You know, if you watch them in the first round of the championship, they'll all be clean and wonderful. And by the time you see them at the finale, they've got holes in them, they've got stone chips, they've got paint missing, they've got tape all over them, just bits hanging off. These trucks, every time I see them, they look immaculate. They look as if they've just been rebuilt for the first round of the season. Now we can see there's actually a barrier repair going on for Andrei Kurzim. I wasn't aware that he'd ended up in the barrier. Didn't look like there was any damage or anything. I know they removed the bumper, but I just assumed that that was to help tow it away. And I've been sent a clip. Thank you very much to Smart Witness for the judicial review cameras. We have them in all of our trucks over the course of the season, and it looks like Andrei Kurzim's steering's failed. We do have another driver to speak to, actually. We're going to go down to current reigning champion and championship leader, Norbert Kiss.
Yes, Chess, it's right. We are close to Norbert Kiss. You have to wait after 5 minutes because of a red flag. Did you see anything on the track? Who was it and what problem is it?
Yeah, I saw Andre with the 11 stop on the side of the circuit. I think he went to the gravel tap, maybe hit the barriers as well a little bit, but I don't know what kind of failure. Maybe brakes or maybe steering is usually what results in this kind of crash. So yeah, I saw him standing there on the side of the road. I didn't see what happened. I just see him standing there.
So the information is in 10 minutes the green lights will go for the next 15 minutes now. Does it disturb the normal qualifying that you now have a little bit less time for setting a good time?
Well, I don't think so, because the first part of the qualifying is anyway quite long. It's 20 minutes, so it's not really big of a problem, because we also only usually drive one lap if there is no problems, or we don't hit a penalty marker, or we don't smoke and they take away our lap time, or whatever. Then we usually do one lap anyway, to save the tires.
Yesterday we talked about the summer break. Did you use the summer break for some improvements, or is the truck well prepared for the second half of the season?
Yeah, I mean, we tried to focus, on reliability and make sure that the reliability is there, for the second half of the season, because the races are coming so quickly now until the season finale, which is gonna be in 4 weeks' time or 5 weeks' time from now. So yeah, everything is going very quickly. So reliability is gonna be key.
Thank you. Good luck. Thanks. Back to you.
Thank you very much, our very own Andreas Ahn down there on the grid this weekend. We are, of course, missing Christina Ran from the paddock. We hope she's having a wonderful time wherever she may be in the world. But we have a very lengthened silence over the circuit right now. But as I've mentioned, these recovery operations are a lot bigger when the racing trucks themselves are a lot bigger than your usual racing cars. And I tell you what, you need a hell of a recovery truck to get the job done as well. And, well, in that standoff there, I don't quite fancy being in what I think is the Hyundai, facing backwards towards us anyway. The humongous Scania bringing Andre Kurzim's Iveco back round to the paddock. And there's one of the recovery operatives there with one hell of a ride actually on the back of that very beefy machine. And we're going to go back down into the pit lane. Andreas has got another interview lined up for us, I believe.
Yes, Chess, it's right. We are standing with Jonathan Andre. It's a new driver. It's a sad moment because Anthony has left the family of ETRC. He passed away a few weeks ago. How was your first laps in the trucks yesterday and today?
For sure, it's difficult weekend for memory of Anthony. I have to learn a lot. I'm not so fast as him, and I will never be so fast as him. But we want to continue as a team for him, for all our partners, for the fans. And I'm here to learn. Yesterday it was not so bad. I was 3 seconds behind fast. This morning I was 1.5 seconds. It's already better. And I try to learn each time I go on track, every time.
I know you are a really experienced sim racing driver in truck racing, but how difficult is it to adapt to these real conditions?
The most difficult for me is to find the good grip on the track, to find the ideal lines, and the braking points also are difficult. I need more experience.
Thank you very much and all the best. Thank you.
Yeah, as mentioned, it is very, very sad, of course, that Anthony Janiec is no longer with us. It's been a massive loss to the paddock, but it's great to see the team still running the truck and completing the season. You know, it's what Anthony would have wanted. He was such a massive lover of truck racing and such a staple within the paddock. You know, he was a really wonderful guy, very happy character, and it is a humongous loss that the paddock has witnessed this year. Now we wait for just a few moments more. We should have just about 4 or 5 minutes before the trucks go back out on the circuit. But of course, as Andreas mentioned not long ago, we have had a session that has been shortened greatly by that incident for Andrei Kurzim. We've had a look at the footage. Thanks again to Smart Witness providing all of the onboard cameras for the judicial review of all the incidents. They help out our stewards. They help out everybody in the paddock in so many ways. And thanks to Sean O'Brien as well, who sent the footage over to me. And it just goes completely for Andrei Kurzim. The steering just completely stops working, has a very sudden failure of it. The truck goes straight on, clips the barrier. It's not a massive hit, but he just has that moment of, oh no, can't really do anything much of it. And there is a wonderful sticker on the corner of the truck, of course, showing support for Anthony and his family as well, as part of the Lion Truck Racing team. A great squad with fantastic character, and the truck certainly stands out as well, doesn't it? It looks absolutely awesome. And there you see the recovery truck backing in, taking Andrei Kurzim's Don't Touch Racing machine back into its awning. Obviously can't move under its own power, so there must have been some damage to the front left corner that has left it immobile, but we couldn't see that earlier based on the camera angle and based on where the truck came to a stop. Now here are trucks making their way down the pit lane. Adam Lachko following Jochen Hahn. You can see Antonio Alberthetti getting going there. The number 14 of Jose Rodriguez ready to get going in the Rebo Connaught team. And there is Steffi Halm in number 44 as well. Steffi had a fantastic time at the Nürburgring. 2 overall podiums to her name that weekend. And the number 44 machine certainly raring to go once again. Another driver that is raring to go is the truck behind her, the number 20, the young Frenchman Théo Calvé, currently top of the Promoters' Cup for the drivers that are rated as Chrome drivers. We have Titan and Chrome in the championship. Consider it as Pro and Am. And Théo Calvé is currently top of those championship standings, but only by 2 points over Jamie Anderson. And then they are both 9 points clear of Shane Brereton. It's very close, actually. Jose Rodriguez is 4th, 1 point clear of Stefan Faas. So there's a lot to play for in the Promoters' Cup. Was known as the Goodyear Cup last season, but of course Goodyear now the title sponsor of the ETRC. There are some of our marshals with a fantastic viewpoint over the circuit. It's quite hot in the office here as well, back in the UK, to be honest with you. But we had a lot of rain last year at Most, so it's nice to see there's no rain at the moment, touch wood. It can very quickly spring a surprise on you here in this area. And much like a number of other circuits that we visit on this calendar as well, they have their own climates, you know. There's just no weather warning at all sometimes. You can just suddenly have it absolutely bucket it down on the spot. We see there Lucas Hahn as well in the number 22 machine. Lucas won his first ever race outright at the Nürburgring for Iveco. It was an amazing race victory a few weeks back. And a very emotional moment as well with his father, Jochen, seeing his son succeed in the sport that he so loves and is so good at. There were some incredibly emotional scenes. Christina and I both tearing up at the time over some of the shots that we saw, a massive embrace between father and son. It's great to see them still out on the track as well together. Jochen, obviously very experienced in the championship. Out of everyone on the grid, he has the most race starts, 630 after the Nürburgring last weekend, over 110 race victories, 6 championships and 67 pole positions. And you can see him in the number 4 machine just to the right there. There is your reigning champion, though, the big red MAN of Norbert Kiss. And there is Lucas's name down the side of his driver's door. just behind him there, waiting to go out, the number 14 machine of Jose Rodriguez. You can see what I believe was either a Cupra TCR car there or one of the Mitjet cars that you can actually see racing in France a lot. It seems to have that sort of front end. Anyway, away from me getting nerdy and being too observing for my own good, Norbert Kiss makes his way into the chicane and the session gets back underway. Now let's see if he does boot it out of the chicane and just watch the acceleration of this MAN. It's awesome to see. A hell of a sight. Horns being sounded around the track as well, whether that be from spectators with their own trucks trackside or our racers, which do still have the horns in these trucks as well. Here is the very tricky approach to turn 6, which is this little left-hander, turn 7, which is the right, and then it becomes a double right-hander. So you'll see them move over to the left into turn 8, flick it left for turn 9, and try and open up the hairpin at turn 10. You can see there's a bit of an escape road essentially around the outside there, just in case you do have a moment. They don't want people cutting back across the apex and cutting the nose off other racers around them. Norbert Kiss making his way down through the left-hander at turn 12, which is a little kink before 13. There was quite the big shunt through qualifying actually last season down there. When the rain came out, there was a number of trucks that went off. Jochen Hahn and Anthony Janiec were involved in that. Both of them sliding off and coming together on the grass on the exit. Jochen doing multiple 360 spins down there as well, actually, on that grass. There was no stopping some of the trucks. Everybody was absolutely fine. And the trucks were back out for the racing later in the day, but it was certainly a moment that woke everybody up to the conditions and the climate of Autodrom Most. It looks like Norbert has just disappeared off up the road. He's decided to crack on with it and try and get as many laps in as he can. You can see the rest of the field just taking it easy at the moment. And there is Norby coming round the final corner. Across the line he goes, flying down the hill up to 160 kilometers an hour, 100 miles an hour. And into the chicane. Look at the lean from Norby's MAN there. Really lent its way into the chicane, didn't it? Then he powers out, and I love that shot. I will keep saying that all weekend. It's just an epic camera point that the team have sorted out down there. And there is Sasha Lenz now coming towards us. Third in the championship, had a tough time at the Nürburgring. He also had a suspension / steering failure at turn 1 as the truck bounced down and compressed very quickly out of the first hairpin. He just went straight on and there was nothing he could do. He lost a lot of points from that because he then had to fight back in the later races of the weekend. He's dropped behind Jochen Hahn by 6 points in the championship. He has a race win to his name already this season. But he wants more. And the beautiful SL Truck Sport 30 MAN certainly looking very striking this year with its metallic green splashes all over the very jet black livery. It just seems to be this darker black than anybody else has put on their trucks this season. It's a very menacing looking machine. Flying this way and that. just heading through the first chicane now. They'll have what's known as a bit of a cool down lap between each circulation. 201.523, so that's very close to the lap record. A 201.340 is the lap record around here in the European Truck Racing Championship. Jamie Anderson has gone third fastest, a 202.0, faster than Sasha Lenz, faster than Steffi Halm, Teo Calve, Adam Lachko, Jose Rodriguez. Alberthetti did a 202.5, but my oh my, it's so close between the middle of the pack. But Norbert Kiss fastest at the moment. Jochen Hahn second with a 201.728. Those two are both faster than anybody went in free practice 2. And now you can see that there are just these moments where they chill out, let's say, for lack of a better phrase. They get everything back to temperature. They have to keep the brakes cool, the temperature's cool, the engine cool, all of it. If they get a chance to just have a bit of a reset over the course of a lap, then they're going to take it. The brakes often operate around 450 degrees Celsius on these trucks. They are cooled by water jets, which the drivers can operate manually in and out of braking zones, just to make sure they are at optimum temperature everywhere they go. But this is some wonderful footage of Baloo, the red MAN, which Norbert Kiss is at the wheel of. It's a fantastic team at Revace Racing, do an amazing job of preparing this truck so beautifully and making it so quick, and Norby just knows how to work it as well. He's really got a fantastic understanding of how the truck works and how the team have it all set up, and you can see that he's not the only one that's slowing down for a moment here. Stefan Faas is still going for it though. He's currently in 10th position. Now let's not forget that the top 10 go through to Superpole. So we have a second part of the session, a shorter second part, and you can see that actually Norbert Kiss is coming in, and a lot of them will do. You can hear some of them still making their way around, though. Stefan Faas, definitely one of them that is pushing on a lap. There is Lucas Hahn in 11th place. Shane Brereton is down in 12th. Jonathan Andre is 13th, ahead of Andre Kurzem, who, of course, is out of the session now, so Andre will start at the back of the grid. Now, here is Stefan Faas in the number 24, Tank Pool 24 Racing Scania. Pushing as hard as he can through that chicane. You can see it just dig the back end into the ground as it gets into gear, punches itself away from turns 1 and 2. And that is down in towards turns 6 and 7. You can see how the circuit just moves one way then the other very gradually. It sort of doesn't start out as a chicane, but then becomes a chicane, if that makes sense. It sort of morphs itself around as Stefan Faas scrabbles for grip on the exit of turn 10. You could see the pace of which they turn out of shot there and suddenly disappear over to the right-hand side. They really go quickly through there. That camera angle there that we just switched to for just a moment there, just before the bridge, they absolutely fly past that camera point and it looks awesome. We will see a lot of that over the weekend, especially when the trucks are racing closely together through there. You'll see a lot of drivers really latch on to the racer ahead of them. That looked like Antonio Alberthetti as well, who is trying to go for a fast lap. He's currently in 9th position, which is a lot lower than we would usually see Antonio. In terms of the Promoters' Cup, Jamie Anderson is fastest of those drivers. He's 3rd overall. Teo Calve is 6th overall. Jose Rodriguez, I should say, is 8th overall. And Stefan Faas, this man that we look at here, currently in 10th position. So we have 4 Promoters Cup drivers inside the top 10 for now. Stefan Fast crosses the line, does not improve. A 2:04.084 for him. Not as quick as his previous time of a 2:03.219. Alberthetti moves up into 7th place with a 2:02.350. He goes ahead of Lachko and Rodriguez. Lachko down there in 8th place. He won't be too chuffed with that one, to be honest with you, at what is a home race for the team. Shane Brereton improves, but only goes up to 11th, so he's still not in with a shout of going into Superpole. There is Antonio. He'll be pleased with the fact that he's improved. I'm just wondering, though, whether Antonio is losing time in a certain sector. Just trying to look back at the certain sector times they've done, but doesn't seem like there's a massive loss of time in any particular part of the track. It just looks like the odd little bit here and there over the course of a lap just adding up. And that's really frustrating as a driver as well, actually, when you have to try and pick apart certain tiny details in a lap, rather than looking at a lap time and thinking, right, it's definitely in sector 2 that we're losing all of our time, or, you know, we're always losing it in turn 1 or turn 5. If you can pick out a certain part of the circuit when it's not quite working for you, then it's easier to try and figure out how you get about it. But when it's the whole lap, as mentioned, that can be very, very frustrating for a team and for a driver. So everybody that is outside the top 10 and Stefan Fast are still on track pushing. There is Shane Brereton, just behind him, Jonathan Andre in the number 66. Stefan Fast is on his way in, actually, in the Scania. He feels like he might have done enough there. He is only a 10th of a second faster than Shane Brereton at the moment in the number 17. Shane, the reigning Promoters Cup champion as well in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. After a dramatic finale last season at Misano, he clinched the title just from Teo Calve. You can see the wonderful shot there down the start-finish straight. And here is Lucas Hahn going into turn 10, hard on the brakes. You've really got to guide the truck round there so gently just to make sure that you don't overdo it, because understeer can kick in really quickly around that part of the track. And especially on the exit as well, because it is a much slower corner, you can very quickly put your foot down a little bit too eagerly and kick the rear end out, lose all of your traction and lose all of your momentum. Just over a minute left in the session right now. There is Shane Brereton flinging it round turn 13. Apparently that is turn 14 there, the kink to the left, but look at the speed they get up to around that part of the circuit. Absolutely mega. And of course, focusing on getting under the bridge nice and cleanly through turn 15, there is Jonathan Andre, who I believe might have had a bit of an issue in Sector 2. He was 6 seconds slower than Shane Brereton around there. Not quite sure if he's had a bit of an off or just a moment or backed off from his lap, but as he said earlier in his interview with Andreas, he was just explaining that he's learning all of the time. And that's important in these machines. They are very different to anything else that you could potentially race in, really. And down the start-finish straight he goes. That lap time was a 2:18.0 compared to the 2:04.9 that is his best lap Clearly something not right there, and he just backed out towards the end of it, maybe to set himself up for this lap as well. You could see it twitching on the way into the chicane quite a lot there. And look at the steering inputs he's putting in just to keep it under control on the exit. Really throwing it around. But that's the thing with these trucks. You have to get to the limit. You have to find where those limits are. It's not like just driving a car. Very, very different machines to tame. You have to find the limits as soon as you can and push them very hard. There's Lucas Hahn running a little bit wide. I don't think he hit the penalty markers there on the exit of turn 13. There's one of them already flattened on the ground. There is Jonathan Andre. He's going a little bit deep into turn 10, isn't he? He's just run wide there, and it looks like he has backed out now that he knows the session is going to be over. And unfortunately, he is not going to improve. He will not start last on the grid, though, because let's not forget, Andrei Kurzim did not complete the session. He had an incident and ended up in the wall. We now wait to see the laps get completed. Jonathan Andre, to be honest, can just use this in-lap, as it may very well be, as a bit of practice to just get used to some of these corners later around the lap. That's why he's still pushing. He's got the tyres on it. He's got the fuel in it. He may as well go for it and give it a bit of a push. And now some quiet falls over the circuit in most areas. He is going to complete the lap, though, at least. So he's pushing around this final sector. You could hear the sideways moment there as the back end tries to kick out around the final corner. Across the line goes Jonathan Andre, and the lap time is a 2:14.2. A couple of seconds, nearly 10 seconds off his fastest time of a 2:04.9. But to be honest, he's only 1.4 seconds off Lucas Hahn ahead of him in 12th position. So not bad at all by Jonathan Andre. And that will complete the first qualifying session of the weekend. We do have Super Pole coming up in just a moment, though. The drivers and the trucks themselves will take just a few minutes to reset and get everything back to what they need. We have the 10 going through into Super Pole. They are Norbert Kiss, Jochen Hahn, Jamie Anderson, third place. What a lap that is. Sasha Lenz, fourth. Steffi Halm, fifth. Teo Calve in sixth. Antonio Alberthetti in seventh, ahead of Adam Lachko in eighth. Jose Rodriguez and Stefan Fass will complete the 10 machines going through. Now, in case you're unaware of the format of the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship, we have 4 races per weekend, 2 qualifying sessions. Each day has the same format, basically. We start the day with qualifying and then Super Pole for the top 10 fastest qualifiers. Then we have race 1 with the grid based on qualifying, of course. Then race 2 with the top 8 from the result of race 1 reversed on the grid. Not as many points given out for the second races, though, of course, the grid position is not earned completely on merit from qualifying. So if drivers manage to finish in 8th, then win the race, they don't get as many championship points as somebody that would have qualified on pole and then maybe won race 1. We then do it all again on the Sunday. We have qualifying 2, Super Pole 2, and then races 3 and 4, following the same format, with qualifying determining race 3's grid and then race 4 having the top 8 reversed based on the result of race 3. So we wait now for the final few trucks just to make their way back in. There isn't usually that long between them getting back into the pit lane and the trucks leaving at the other end as well to get back on. But of course, the circuit has to be considered as clear for them to allow machines back out onto the road. And there is Jonathan Andre popping into shot in the MAN. And he completes his first qualifying session behind the wheel of the number 66 Lion Truck Racing MAN. There's a lot of excitement around the paddock, of course, ahead of next season in 2023, where the regulations have been changed to allow hybrid and electric powertrains into the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. It's a very exciting time. Of course, the championship focuses a lot on sustainability and clean energy. All of our trucks run on 100% renewable HVO diesel as well, so they're certainly sustainable. The championship is committed to be carbon neutral in just over the next 10 years at the latest. They have set themselves a deadline for when they want to be carbon neutral. That includes all of the logistics as well, and it really helps set an example for the industry itself. You know, the trucking and logistics sector. The racetrack is a perfect place to test all of these sustainable measures that can be put in place. At the end of the day, they are still trucks on the road, and they're being pushed to their limits all of the time. So rather than have people test stuff and break down on public roads, why not get the racing trucks to go out there and do it and put stuff to the test properly? These machines are around 1,200 horsepower, over 5,000 newton meters of torque, as mentioned. And the top speed is in excess of 100 miles an hour, 160 miles an hour, 160 kilometers an hour. But the trucks are governed to that speed. So you may see drivers get warned for overspeeding, as it'll be brought up as. This is moments where they've exceeded 100 miles an hour or 160 Ks. Norbert Kiss once again leads the field around, and he will be the first one to cross the line and start his fast lap here in Superpole. We hope you enjoy watching our coverage wherever you may be around the world. We know that the championship has a lot of international fans from all over. Very passionate fans as well. We always appreciate your comments and all of your interaction across our social media. It's great to see that the championship has amassed such a following, and especially from within the industry as well. So many great fans of the series and regular fans as well. We do see certain names always popping up, whether it comes to discussion or just support for the championship and their favourite drivers and whatever they may be doing. So Norbert Kiss has crossed the line then. Makes his way down towards turns 1 and 2. Jochen Hahn is the next driver on track behind him. And then Jamie Anderson. They do go out into Superpole in the order that they finished qualifying in. Look at the way the big Revache Racing MAN punches out of turn 1. And the very fast kink left down at turn 3. Into 4, 5 and 6. Look at the commanding way that Norbert pushes this truck around. Certainly knows what he wants from it. You can hear the downshifts as well. Blipping, as they call it, with the right foot to spike the revs, do some rev matching. Make sure that you get the ideal amount of engine braking as you slow down into tight corners like that. And you see the rest of the field making their way through and around the tight and twisty hairpins at what I'm calling the top end of the circuit, but I believe actually maybe the bottom end of the circuit, as it's a little bit more downhill than the rest. Into turn 15 goes Norbert Kiss, dancing the truck around. It really is a dance when you watch Norbert Kiss pushing this thing as hard as he does in these qualifying sessions. And once again, much like last year, I think people are going to be hard-pressed to try and stop him this season. Well on his way at the moment to a 4th championship title. He clinched the crown for the 3rd time in 2021. He previously won it in 2014 and 2015. He won 19 races in 2015. Now that was utter dominance. And across the line he goes. And he sets a time of a 2:01.116, everybody, and that takes the lap record that has stood since 2009 by David Versecki. And Norbert Kiss has done it at the time where he needed to do it most. Amazing stuff by Norby. 2:01.116. That is a very impressive time. Now, as Adam Lachko mentioned, some of that may be down to the surface, the new resurfaced layer that we have around here at Most, but at the end of the day, the circuit shape has remained the same, and Norbert Kiss has remained dominant. Jochen Hahn has gone second fastest, half a second off. Antonio Alberthetti third, I should say, not third, ahead of Adam Lachko in fourth. Sasha Lenz currently fifth. Teo Calve, the highest placed driver in the Promoters' Cup, in sixth, just ahead of Jamie Anderson. Steffi Halm, eighth. Stefan Faas and Jose Rodriguez round out the 10. Now, I imagine we're going to see Jose Rodriguez cut his way through this pack. And you can see Jochen Hahn just coasting around now, as they all will. Some of them might even go straight in, you know. I think Norbert Kiss, after setting a time half a second faster than everybody else, will call it a day for his session there. You may see a few others like Jose Rodriguez, Stefan Faas, Steffi Halm still push on. You can see the wonderful hillside in the background there. Now that corner that Jochen Hahn has just been through there is a little tiny kink to the left, actually, that is considered as turn 14 on this track. 21 corners. There's not many circuits in the world have more than that, to be honest with you. We do visit quite a lot of long tracks in this championship. Autodrom Most in this configuration anyway is 2.6 miles long. 4.2 kilometers. Not the longest of tracks though, but the quick succession in which you go round corners is very demanding on the drivers, as we saw there on the right of shot, as they just went out of shot anyway. Jochen Hahn seemingly overtaking Norbert Kiss. I think Jochen wanted to just get on with it and put another fast lap in. And he is doing, look. I think Norby's going to come in. He is. But Jochen pushes into the final corner thinking, I can beat that. Jamie Anderson knows he can beat his time as well. He was third fastest in qualifying. He wants to make sure that he repeats that fate in Superpole. Out the final corner he goes in his MAN. Currently second in the Goodyear Cup on 166 points is Jamie. He's a very, very lovely guy. It was good to catch up with him in the team at the Nürburgring over a month ago. I cannot believe it's been so long since we were at the Nürburgring. On the Sunday night, after what was a great turnaround of the weekend with Jamie, I enjoyed an ice cream with him. We had a good laugh. Him and his wonderful wife Ella as well, and all of his fantastic team members and supporters. And here is Jochen Hahn. Always a funny man, always one of the jokers of the paddock, but also one of the most serious racers. A very level-headed guy as well when he needs to be. He's been around the block a few times as Jochen, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Looks very controlled as he comes out of turn 10, turn 11, and then the fast kink at turn 12 down the hill. Get it settled hard onto the brakes into turn 13, nice and smooth. Don't hit that sausage curb on the inside. It looked like, from the footage that I saw, thanks again to Smart Witness, that Andre Kurzim clipped that curb on the inside, and that might have been what broke something in the steering. While these trucks are very big, tough machines, they are just as prone to having things break as race cars of smaller size. Jochen Hahn flying up there through turn 18. The first of two little left kinks there. Turn 18 is the one you just seen shot there. And then just to the right of where our camera is placed, there is turn 19, which sets them up for turn 20. Now, when we have our camera here at the final corner, it looks like turn 20, just before this one, is a 90-degree right-hander, but it's almost a hairpin. It's very, very tough on itself, nearly 180 degrees, in fact. Jochen Hahn across the line. 5 seconds left to go on the clock. Does he improve? He does not. It's a 2:02.1. He's another half a second down on his best time of a 2:01.6. Jamie Anderson goes fourth. Jamie Anderson improves with a 2:02.287 and goes ahead of Adam Lachko and Teo Calve, both the Bagheera ZM Racing Freightliners. And importantly for Jamie, he's ahead of him in the Promoters Cup. There is Adam Lachko. Basically a home race for him and the team. Stefan Fast following him. Stefan across the line in 9th place. Does not improve. Sasha Lenz goes up to 4th fastest now. He displaces a lot of drivers below him. And Jose Rodriguez goes ahead of Stefan Fast right at the end as well there when the checkered flag comes out. But it's another pole position, his 8th of the season for Norbert Kiss. And that is a very impressive feat indeed. Jochen Hahn takes 2nd place, half a second back. Antonio Albacetti will be pretty pleased with 3rd place, and I imagine the rest of the team at T-Sport Banau will be as well. Sasha Lenz might not be so chuffed with 4th, though, to be honest with you. Sasha knows that he needs to try and claw some points back here over Jochen Hahn, and of course chase after Norbert Kiss in the Drivers' Championship. But the more that Norbert just continues to do what he's doing with these pole positions and wins in the first races of the day, the closer and closer he gets to taking the championship. And Norbert Kiss has already done the deed and done a new lap record around here in Super Pole 1, a 2:01.116. As mentioned earlier, that is a lap record that has stood for some 13 years here in truck racing at Most. And it's not like we've had any sort of gaps in visits here, so the drivers haven't had a chance to beat that. You know, this is the only circuit. Obviously, this is including 2020, where the championship was cancelled and we only had 2 race meetings, but this is the only circuit to have had an ETRC meeting every year since 2006. Since they changed to the new format of these race trucks, and of course it became the European Truck Racing Championship in its current form, Most is the only track we've visited every year. Now again, as mentioned, because of 2020 and the COVID pandemic, the championship was cancelled, so we didn't visit some of the tracks that we normally would have. But still, the fact remains. And drivers and spectators do love this place. It's great fun to watch. The trucks themselves behave very well around here, actually. It does suit them quite a lot, so it's no surprise that we have had so many visits here, to be honest with you. And into the pits they all go now after what was a very successful session, actually, considering the moment for Andre Kurzim earlier that brought a halt to the first part of qualifying. The rest of it ran green all the way through and was lovely and clean. And in just a moment we will see, I imagine, Norbert Kiss making his way into the pit lane to be congratulated, unless actually I believe there will be, because there's other racing going on at Most this weekend. Normally the Truck Racing Championship is just there on its own, but because there is other racing going on this weekend, the trucks will go straight into the paddock for the most part and then be put back in their awnings, and the teams can get ready and prepared as quickly as possible. It's just gone around 11 o'clock local time in Czechia. And our first race live stream of the day will be coming up for you at 12 local time. That'll be 11 for anybody watching in the UK. If you're watching on the English stream with me, hello. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day, a wonderful morning. It's just about to hit 10 a.m. here in the UK. Our race 2 live stream later on in the day will be coming up at 3:30 UK time, 4:30 in Czechia. We'll have a look at the results then of Superpole and how the grid will line up ahead of the first race of the weekend. Norbert Kiss takes his 8th pole position of the season with a new lap record around Autodrom Most for truck racing, 201.116. Jochen Hahn takes 2nd place ahead of Antonio Alberthetti, who will line up on the row 2 with Sasha Lenz alongside him. Jamie Anderson, highest placed in the Promoters' Cup, will start with Adam Lachko, but right behind him on their same side of the grid will be Teo Calve. He's alongside Steffi Halm on row 4. Then we have Jose Rodriguez in 9th. Stefan Faas rounds out the top 10 at the end of Superpole, just over 2 seconds off. Shane Brereton will start 11th. He's going to be hoping for more progress from there, ahead of Lucas Hahn in 12th. And Jonathan Andre will start at the back of the grid in 13th, with Andre Kurzim alongside him, who did not set a time in that session. And hopefully, of course, Andre Kurzim's team can get the truck repaired and get everything fixed ahead of the first race of the weekend, and we can see him out there on track. Andre is a very fierce fighter when it comes to his racing. He actually won a race here last season after a terrific fight with Norbert Kiss lap after lap. And I'm sure that despite what's happened in qualifying, he'll be hoping to do the same again this season. When you do have a sort of breakthrough victory at certain tracks, drivers love to try and continue that form, and it gives you real confidence to push around particular venues. And now you can see everybody just going about their duties, checking everything is all in order and in place ahead of the rest of the racing that will be taking place throughout today. And of course the weekend as well. There's a lot to be done here at Autodrom Most. When you see a track map of this place, it's a very interesting looking circuit. It's a very long and narrow circuit from the one end at turn 20 all the way down to the other at turn 10. It's a long, long way. And we've got an interview down there in the paddock, I believe, with Andreas.
Yes, Chess. Jochen Hahn is with me. 2nd place in qualifying. Satisfied with 2nd place because 2nd is the best after behind Norbert Kiss.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. From this side, we are very happy. Yeah. We make a lot in the summer break, and yesterday looks like it's the wrong way, but it is the correct way, and we are nearly behind Norbert. So I think we can make a very, very good race for the visitors.
It's only half a second, the gap to Norbert. All the others are more than 1 second behind Norbert. That shows you're on the right way. You said it already, and we can hope for maybe exciting race.
Yeah, you know, the points coming in the race, not in the time practice. So maybe somebody have a mistake. I'm without a small mistake, but I'm without mistake. So this is my performance. I hope behind me it's also the maximum performance. Then we can make it easy on the 2nd place when we have no error or no damage or nothing. It's broken, but in the end, look, the points come in the race. Now we make the race, and then after the race we make hopefully an interview, and maybe I'm on the 1st place, maybe on the 2nd. I hope not on the 3rd or 4th, but we will see.
Okay. Thanks a lot. All the German fans will cross their fingers for you, and that's it from the paddock. Back to you, Chess and Ebi.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Andreas, and thank you very much to Jochen Hahn. And of course, we have our fingers crossed for him that he is not in the 3rd or 4th position at the end of the race. But that brings qualifying and Superpole to a close here at Autodrom Most. As mentioned, we will have our next live stream at 12:10 local time. We will also have the race 2 live stream at about 4:30 local time. I hope you'll join me, Charles Draycott, and my German colleague, commentator Joachim Eberts, EB, the legend himself, later on in the day. But for now, that's all from me, and I will see you a bit later on.